back here on the Region Sports Network. Mike Dewan. Alongside me is my Region Football Weekly partner, Jay Simmons.
Yeah.
We are here for the Region Football Wrap-Up Show live from the Athletic Performance Factory. Jay, a fantastic slate tonight. I kind of wanted to harp in on you with your one game that you were at. But our three games on the Region Sports Network before we get going. Three Duneland games, starting off at Ames Field, a 9v6 matchup. And that 9 team was the home team. The Michigan City Wolves got the win over the number 6 Chesterton Trojans. Final score of that one was 30-13. And by the way, you can catch all of our scores on the Strack and Van Til hometown scoreboard. Our second of three on the Region Sports Network was, let me find it, the Valparaiso Vikings took on the LaPorte Slicers. That game, that was audio only, but feel free to take a look at that audio call as well as the Valparaiso Vikings got their first win of the season, 28-0. And Jay, the game that you were at here tonight, the Battle of the Indians at the Burial Grounds. Portage traveled to take on Lake Central, a battle of 6A schools. And Lake Central, I'd say for them, a much-needed win, a much-needed bounce back after last week's game that you were also at.
Yes.
You and me both, a game that was kind of a letdown, but Lake Central responds 26-0. Jay, fresh on the mind, obviously you were there not too long ago. What were your kind of takeaways from this performance?
No, I think the difference was going from week 2 to week 3, the offensive line for Lake Central looked like they solidified the problems that they had, and they were able to give Cam Reddick some running room, did a great job on the ground, probably had over 75 yards rushing, and then also he was able to sit in the pocket and look down the field and hit some receivers. Now, it's kind of funny what the receivers did with the ball is up to them, but he was able to throw the ball down the field, sit in the pocket, had a couple nice throws down the field. Great job, Cam Reddick. He's taken that next step, I think, so far. For this season, he has taken that next step going into the senior year.
And Lake Central will gear up for their third straight home game next week. Now, Lake Central, again, 2-1. And, Jay, we'll talk about Portage here in a minute, but both of these teams, they're looking at their schedule, and they're looking up now. Lake Central's got to gear up pretty quickly for a team we'll talk about here later on the wrap-up show. The top-ranked, and will also, again, continue to be the top-ranked Crown Point Bulldogs. They'll have them next week. That'll hopefully be on the Region Sports Network. Jay,
definitely.
How to gear up for that game in these kind of early parts of, okay, let's flush this game, all right, open and close. Now, once Saturday comes around, Crown Point Bulldogs are on the money.
And let's sort of hit on right here. The blue-collar players of the game, Lake Central defense, did a great job, pitched a shutout. They're going to have to work on that multi-tiered offense of Crown Point. They've got so many gifted athletes. They're just going to have to figure out, all right, what are they going to take away defensively? Are they going to take away the run game? Are they going to take away the pass game? What dimension of that offense do you want to take away from Crown Point? And I think that's where this defense, who played outstanding this week and last week, they played pretty darn good against the Grand Rapids team that was very, very good. So I think the defensive side of the ball, Lake Central is going to be solid. It's just how much can they slow down that offensive Crown Point, and then offensively, how are they going to handle that 3-5 blitzing defensive Crown Point? So it's going to be having to put a lot of parts together quickly in 1 week. But I think Lake Central's taking that next step, and I think it's going to be a little bit closer than people think next week against Crown Point.
Definitely nice to be at home again. To walk out of your locker room and your field's right back there. You can find the full game replay on Region Sports Network. Again, we apologize for any technical difficulties, but that game is on our social media platforms. Jay, the other side of the coin in this one, the Portage Indians, coming into the season and looking at the roster and obviously the whirlwind of an offseason they've kind of had on both the field and the sidelines, to have high expectations after a pretty successful 2024 was probably not in the cards. What did you see from them tonight? Your first look of them, and obviously they're kind of in that same boat as Lake Central, where next week, oh boy, Maryville at the Purple Palace. How do you kind of keep morale high as well with a team that's struggling to kind of find that identity?
Well, I think we hit on it during Kevin and I hit on it during the game, is the execution offensively. They had the quarterback running into the motion man many times where it was just going to be an isolated running play for the quarterback, and he got tackled in the backfield several times by his own guys. They never could get that offense going. They seemed to just that execution, that lack of practice and preparation that they didn't have all summer to work together. I think a lot of those things just didn't come together. Defensively, with a freshman, they got I think a freshman starting at defensive tackle, and that's kind of in the Doolin Conference that doesn't happen very often. He did have a nice night, but defensively they struggled a little bit also. Just assignment wise, again, missed a couple of holes here and a couple of tackles there. So they've got to make sure and solidify that all that assignments, because Maryville is going to take advantage of it, and they got the speed that if they hit a hole, it's going to be a touchdown. So they've got to solidify those things.
Yeah, Portage, it sounded like it was kind of a struggle offensively. Yes. Weren't really in Lake Central territory that much. And,
no.
Although they have Cody Young is still their guy under center, right? The guy that's been kind of doing it for a few years, but obviously you have to kind of work with a full new supporting cast. And I'm still wishing the best for Portage going forward. But Jay, it's any final thoughts, I guess, on that game before I kind of want to get into the top 10 potentially next week.
That's right. I just think that Portage, it's a work in progress. Yeah. It's going to take them another 2 or 3 weeks before they get to feel comfortable with each other and the coaching staff and the new offense that they're trying to implement. And then the same thing on the defensive side. They got to make sure they solidify the assignments and the gap assignments, and then they'll be fine. They're a year away.
Jay, before we let you go, we got to talk about what we'll probably talk about on Thursdays. Again, Jay and we do Region Football Weekly every Thursdays around 6 o'clock. Feel free to check us out on all of our socials.
That's right.
But Jay, this is an interesting, soon-to-be next week's rankings of the top 10 list. Crown Point, Maryville was played. That final was 35-21 in favor of Crown Point. Morton, a big win against Shepherd, a good team from Illinois, 42-20. We talked about Valpo with that 28-0 victory. Wheeler poured it on once again, and Drain, another big win, and probably the shock of the night.
I'm very disappointed about this one. I know where you're going with it. I know where you're going.
The RDP Lowell Red Devils 42, Griffith Panthers 14. Jay, I guess to kind of sum that all up this week, this week 3 of a couple upsets, a couple shockers, and potential top 10. Any top 10 movement you may expect coming into next week?
I think
should be interesting.
Yeah, I think that number 5 spot where Griffith Panthers are, I think they may move backwards a spot or two.
Probably.
I think they just got overmatched in size wise, and maybe depth. That's about what I can see of it. I mean, just physically getting dominated, 42-14. Boy, and you take away from this is Griffith coming into this game was averaging over 50 points a game, and then Lowell pitches only a 14-point
Griffith
defense.
scored late too.
Yes.
So I mean, you could
Yeah, I mean they had scored 7 points going into halftime.
It was running clock.
Yeah, so I mean, Griffith has got to bounce back from this one. And we know they're playing a class up, but they played two of Lowell's opponents early on, and they took care of business. But now they're playing the upper echelon of that conference, and it's they just got rolled.
Another interesting move here, Jay. Final question, I guess. Maryville drops to Crown Point, 21-35. Lowell puts on another dominant performance against Munster, 41-7. Michael Bradner and I, Michael will welcome back in here eventually on the wrap-up show. But Maryville, although the 1-2 record, again, you lose to Crown Point and Loyola Academy. Hobart's looked great in their 3 games. I think they've scored outside, that 20-point game, 20-point outing against Chesterton. They put up 40 these past 2 weeks. Has Hobart done enough to maybe enter that top 2 spot? I'm sure the Hobart faithful are pretty happy to hear that.
And you know what? They've just been rolling. They've been knocking teams down left and right. So I think they might be a knocking on the door for the number 2 spot. We'll have to see. Hey, you paid off. I'm just going to mention this one out there. You paid off with your first 0-2 team in the top 10.
The committee paid off.
I'm sorry, the committee's paid off with sticking with Valparaiso as the only 0-2 team in the top 10. Paid off with a big victory this week, and let's see if they can stay in the top 10.
What can we say? Committee knows best. So
all right, so let's do it.
For Jay Simmons, you'll see him and I again, Region Football Weekly on Thursday evenings. Jay, get some rest. Thank you for tonight. A good game over there at the Burial Grounds, and we'll see you next Thursday. We'll be back here on Region Football Wrap Up. Michael Bradner will be up back here next on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Hi, my name is Mark Machnick. I'm the owner of Mark Machnick CPA firm in Highland, Indiana on Kennedy Avenue. I've been working with Region Sports for years now. Started working with Chris years ago, just on some special projects, advertising here and there. After a while, kind of increased the advertising. Mainly was doing it for the community involvement. It's such a great network and program they do with the high school sports. But as time went by, I started getting on there more frequently. And then the phone starts ringing. And I was getting calls all the time from people. Hey, I saw your ad on so-and-so football game. I saw your ad on a basketball game. And it's really helped my business. It's increased the volume. We're a tight community in Northwest Indiana, sports-wise, and just a lot of community involvement. So that's mainly why I got into it. I remember watching one game. It was a basketball game, and I think there was a little bit of an altercation. And as the altercation was happening, my ad was right on the bottom, and someone typed in, "I wonder what Mark Machnick's thinking right now." And I was thinking, wow, this is awesome. It's really been a great feature for my business. It's the only advertising I do. I don't advertise anywhere else other than Region Sports. It's for the business, but mainly for the involvement with the community. I played high school baseball here in Highland, and ever since I've been advertising on Region Sports, a lot of my old coaches are now my clients. A lot of my old teammates come in here. My recommendation, if you're a business here in Northwest Indiana, I think Region Sports is, for your money, it's one of the best places that you can advertise. I mean, I can advertise on billboards. I could do anywhere I want to. And I choose Region Sports, mainly because I get a lot of feedback, especially on the high school level. A lot of the parents, if they can't make a game, they're watching it online. They're watching a replay, the grandparents. So it's done wonders for my business, and it's my go-to for advertising. It's the only spot I would advertise. So if you're a business owner in the area, really look into advertising on Region Sports. It's going to be well worth your money, and you'll make tenfold on what you're spending. Region Sports Network, they're the only game in town, but they're more than just a game.
And welcome back to Region Football Wrap-Up here tonight, wrapping up Week 3. Mike, you and Jay kind of talked about that Lake Central game a little bit and kind of preview or kind of looked at that top 10. But more importantly, we're 3 weeks in the book. We're about a third of the way done with the regular season already. It's kind of hard to believe, but yeah, a third of the way done through the season already.
Crazy to think about. Again, open and shut, and a fifth of the way done with the entire football season if we really look at it for teams that are really kind of gunning high. But again, a decent amount of at least good games on paper heading into this, and then obviously a couple blowouts here and there, but that's kind of why we're here. And, what we're trying to see from some of these teams, when we come back here Week 9, that's what's kind of the most interesting part is how are these teams going to grow over the course of the season. But some growing pains here. Some teams are better suited than others, but hey, that's why we're here. That's why we kind of wrap it all up. And who knows? Again, it's a long season, Michael, for sure, but it's flying by.
Well, and we talked about during the RSN zone, this has been a night of kind of second halves. We saw a lot of action in the second half of a lot of different games. So let's go ahead and run through some of those scores before we take breaks, and then we'll get more scores, and we can talk about the top 10 a little bit. But I have questions, and I have ideas, and we'll go with it. All right, let's start with you got the Bremen Braves who were looking for their first win of the year, and guess what? They did. 39-0 over the Boone Grove Wolves.
Boone Grove, just a lot of replacement on the team. A lot of pieces that they're still trying to find. They got a good running back in Sal Montez, a name that had popped up on our peak performers of the week for rushing. So that's a start. But again, you got to replace a quarterback. You got to replace a couple two-way guys that, frankly, this is a team that it may take them a little bit. I mean, this was a team built on last year, which they were kind of a force in their respective division in the GSSC, that they were built on some seniors that were very driven, a couple 3-4 year starters that were super cool to see them within the program, and to get a home field for their whole senior season for the first time was awesome. But this is a new Boone Grove team, and they got a great coach on their sideline, and Dan Kukulski. And obviously, it's hills and valleys kind of, and smaller schools like this especially. And Bremen got the best of them tonight, but conference play, right around the corner for them, and they're hoping to kind of recoup and get going.
All right, another final to talk about, a game you saw right here on the Region Sports Network. I wouldn't say it's a upset, but definitely one that maybe people, is a little bit more lopsided than a lot of people may have predicted, and that is the number 9 Michigan City Wolves getting the win over the number 6 Chesterton Trojans, 30-13.
Michael, this was 7-7 at half. We talked about this, and again, you could see this full game replay on the Region Sports Network, but it was, Chesterton, they kind of backed themselves up a few times. The Michigan City special teams and defense kind of came to play. They kept Chesterton behind the sticks, especially in the second half. They had a safety on a block punt. In that third quarter, it really just got away from Chesterton. Hunter Boyd made a couple nice plays under center, but, Michigan City, with Chesterton, which I'm interested in kind of see the running numbers with Andrew Govea and kind of, that dominant rushing attack. But obviously, if the score looks like this, they put up 13 points, and the defense, which, gave up 30, I presume that things didn't quite go well on the ground for the Chesterton Trojans. And Michigan City, again, this was a team that, coming into this game, they're the 9th-ranked team versus the 6th, and they, if they don't suffer that letdown loss to Lafayette Jefferson, we might be looking at this team a heck of a lot differently heading into Week 4. But to bounce back and go, to Ames Field, to come back home and put up a big second half against a team that's ranked higher than you, we're kind of, we're talking about who's that, that third team in the Duneland potentially. Michigan City now making that case. But who knows? Again, these two teams are in that sectional. We saw this last year as well. City got the best in that first game that we talked about on RSN Zone. That second meeting, potentially, they lost in overtime. So it's a long season at Chesterton as well. This could be a team that grows over time. The longest tenured head coach in Northwest Indiana is Mark Peterson, and he understands his group, and I'm sure he will a little bit more once you get to the latter half of the season. But a big win for City, and expect them to move up in our top 10.
And he will know how to help get a team to bounce back the next week after a loss. So Michigan City improves their record to 2-1. A team that went 3-0 tonight. The guy behind the camera over here, Justin Cole, he had some celebratory
clubs.
I'm trying to think of the Kool-Aid or something. He had some celebratory punch or something back there. He was enjoying his Calumet Warriors getting the win 28-16 over East Chicago.
East Chicago is it's not kind of a walkover game against these Cardinals anymore. But that said, Calumet, we should have asked Gibbs for the stats on this, but their first 3-0 start since I've never had some good teams of course under Coach Good not too long ago. But this is a team, again, I keep seeing it, but there's some new faces within this Warrior program that you have to get familiar with. Some young, some old, but nonetheless, they're new. Some guys that might stick around for a few years, some guys that, hey, they might be one and dones, but they're putting up wins right now, and they might be a sleeper team in a GSSC that, they have some contenders, and obviously they're broken up in the divisions, but teams want this thing outright, and Calumet might be one of those teams that can kind of flirt with an outright title.
And this is a game, very late in this game. It was a 22-16 ball game.
Got close.
So a late touchdown made it kind of seemed like lopsided, but it really was a lot closer than the final score will indicate. Another team that was looking for their first win of the year, and that was the Hanover Central Wildcats, and they did pick up that first victory, 28-0 over the Highland Trojans.
Big win for Coach Bartlemail. Get that first one off your chest. Get that one under your belt. He's seen a lot of wins as an assistant, but to get one under his own name, I'm sure it was sweet. And again, this was all kind of a second half performance, something very similar to what we've seen just about all night long, Michael. And Hanover finally, I'd like to see how that offense kind of clicked. I know there was, again, Jeff Resney's been kind of that guy under center, but there's been, trying to find some answers kind of all across the field. The defense that returns a fair amount of production is what we saw tonight, pitched a shutout. But there's two sides of the coin here, Michael. And for Hanover to kind of, open it up in the second half, score 28 points, they want to try and now gear up and, kind of snowball. And who knows? Again, we talked about there could be a 2-horse race for the NCC title. Hobart and Andrean have both looked very, very solid. But Hanover Central, again, they've entered their name in the chat as well as of late. They're the new kids on the block, so to speak, but they're not going to go away anytime soon. I don't expect them to quite yet. But a big win for Coach Barton and company.
And we've talked about that strength of schedule for that team as well. Another team that was looking for their second win of the year and keep their opponents winless on the year, the Andrean 59ers. We've got them number 4 in our RSN poll. They are number 7 in Class 2A here in the state of Indiana. That's the Andrean 59ers. They get the win 38-8 in a big win over KB.
That's what those first 2 weeks are for. It's a measuring stick. You take on defenses and offenses that are honestly almost out of your league, so to speak, in a way. Obviously, they got the win against Lures, and they took care of business. But Lures, a great program. They scheduled them for a reason. A Saturday Night Lights against them at Father Eckert Field. They're doing this for a reason. This is a team that's very, very solid. And now you get in the conference play, which is a favorable start against Kankakee Valley. And we saw the offense, after kind of a slower first half, so to speak, put some points up on the board. Defense, again, only gives up 8 points. Again, this team is, although the two-way class with a lot of guys kind of going both ways, asking to wear, a lot of different hats, this team they could be very, very dangerous, whether in the conference and or their class. I'd say especially the latter, because that two-way is really, again, it's what it's all for. It's as simple as that. We keep saying it, but it's truly amazing how, again, the start of the season, it's just kind of, wins are great, sure, but hey, we're going to get better. And it's when we get in the conference play, we're really going to get rolling. And then when we get to two-way sectional play and regional play, we're especially going to get rolling. But Andrean, they're trying to get that conference title for sure. They don't want to share either, like last year.
All right, if we are looking for an upset game of the night, this is going to be the one. You alluded to it earlier. Jay had to leave because he was so upset by this score. But the Lowell Red Devils getting the win over the number 5 Griffith Panthers tonight, 42-14. You had indicated before the night started that this would be a tough matchup for the Griffith Panthers. I don't think anybody saw this score coming.
No, first time these two teams met since 2022, and it's been a long-time series between these two former NCC foes, but Lowell's kind of had the upper hand. Again, this is a team that, that prides themselves on just being, grittier than you, I guess, is a way to define Red Devil football. And they're going to kill you for 4 quarters. They're going to run it down. Do whatever it takes. And they're just, going to do the little things right. And they did it again tonight. But this isn't a team that, again, it's not just smash mouth football. Casey McKim has already kind of putting his fingerprints within this culture and getting big wins like this to go to the Boneyard, which is, doing it maybe at the Inferno is one thing, but to go to another hostile environment in the Boneyard, which I could only imagine was probably filled with Griffith people that were, antsy for, another 3-0 start, but Lowell took care of business. Definitely, I'd say our biggest surprise of the night, but watch out for the Lowell Red Devils as well. As much as we talked about, again, Hobart, Hanover, and Andrean in the NCC, Jay said it too as well on Region Football Weekly. Who knows? We could be talking about Lowell here in a few weeks. We're definitely talking about Lowell here tonight.
Yeah, without question. And wants to see if maybe there is some movement in that RSN top 10 poll. See if maybe the Lowell Red Devils find their way in. Will they be in at 10? Could they sneak into 9? We had some top 10 teams lose. We'll figure out as the committee will convene early in the week next week to decide where all those teams will fall. We're going to step aside for just a moment. We'll bring the rest of the scores on the other side of this break right here for Region Football Weekly on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
At Strachan Van Til, we believe grocery shopping should be simple. Now, shopping is easier than ever with our new and improved website. Find what you need fast. Browse your favorite products, add them to your cart, and check out in just a few quick steps. Choose between convenient in-store pickup or let us handle the heavy lifting. From our shelves to your doorstep, skip the lines, shop your way, and spend more time on what matters most. With our rewards program, enjoy incredible savings and personalized offers every time you shop. Shop online now at strachanvantil.com or download our app today.
Hi, I'm Crowell Company's Lantern Man. If you're a contractor, it's my job to make your insurance coverage simple and affordable. Because I know time is money, I'll come to your business. Certificates and bonds are a snap. Wherever you are, whatever business you're in, we've got you covered. As Crowell Company's Lantern Man, I'm your insurance superhero.
Crowell Company's insurance professionals. Highland, Merrillville, and Michigan City.
Thinking about what to do after high school? Consider a career with Boilermakers Local 374. As a Boilermaker apprentice, you'll earn while you learn. We offer excellent wages and benefits, and as part of our no-cost hands-on apprenticeship program, you'll learn from the best in state-of-the-art training centers and on the job. Become a union Boilermaker and get on your way to a great career. Find out more, visit www.local374.org or call 219-845-1000.
From lighting up Friday Night Football to powering the classrooms that shape the students of Lake County, IBEW Local 697 is proud to support our region schools and the communities we call home. A career as a union electrician could be your next great move. Your next cap might be a hard hat. IBEW Local 697, powering futures, powering the region.
Four Seasons Mechanical proudly serves Northwest Indiana, providing quality, reasonably priced, reliable service. With a quality and comfort guarantee, the professionals at Four Seasons Mechanical offer a wide range of services in heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Whether it's residential or commercial, Four Seasons Mechanical is there 24/7. To find out more, the website is fourseasonsmechanical.com or give them a call at 219-756-7020. Four Seasons Mechanical, your indoor air quality specialist.
Welcome back to Region Football Wrap Up. I said weekly earlier. Wrap Up. My
There it
bad.
is.
I was, my week one debut on the Region Football Weekly show. And I got kicked off for Jay. Who doesn't like getting
viewership numbers? I think is what it came down to.
Yeah. I can tell. And then we got Zach Miller off the Tailgate Show.
A lot of
rotating people. You know who's a constant though? This guy, the sports director, Mike DeWan. He's not going anywhere.
All right. All right, dude. Keep it moving. Let's go. Thanks, guys.
So we actually have a biography ready to go.
Okay, man. Okay.
Here we go. All right.
We're live, Mike.
That's right. Yeah, take two. All right. We do have a top two matchup tonight as well. The Crown Point Bulldogs were hosting the Maryville Pirates. This is always one you circle on your schedule the last number of years, just because these two teams have been so good in the DAC the last number of years, and it is still the number one Crown Point Bulldogs on top, 35-21. You can argue that gap was still pretty big. Obviously, Maryville with that late touchdown on the deep throw, a little bit later on in that one. But when you look at the final score, if anybody were to just analyze it from the final score perspective, we've said that gap is closing.
You're not entertained. I mean, it's Crown Point. I mean, once again, just getting the job done. It's we talked about it kind of in the tailgate show, and what kind of our thoughts are on this. But I mean, going into it, it's just so tough to go against the Crown Point Bulldogs, Michael. And I mean, Maryville, again, a valiant effort. We saw a lot of flashes from Michael Hill, from their solid backfield mates. But I mean, this Crown Point team, again, although that gap, it's a closer score. There's no running clock in this one. It was a little bit closer than usual. This Crown Point team and this defense especially, man, they're going to keep them in games. And this offense, I mean, I still think this team has so much room to grow. I mean, the goal for this is, again, if the defense could get us through some games, could keep us within games, then those, new quarterbacks, new running back and Braden Shutt, who scored, a couple more times tonight, a quarterback in Cooper Milaski, who's been getting a little bit. And I know there's been, another guy kind of in the rotation, and, you have, a couple guys on the offensive line, but, out wide, you got to replace a guy like Lucas Szymborski and Jacob Soley, and it's a couple rotating pieces. But this team, again, they're going to be a force to reckon with. In Maryville, a 1-2 record, you cannot let those numbers really defy you. I mean, I'd say that's probably the toughest 3-game stretch. I don't know who is second, truth be told, to start the season. I mean, when you take on Andrean, who's going to do some big damage in the 2A level. You take on the three-peat state champs of the biggest class in Illinois. Then you take on Crown Point, who, I mean, they're going to be a force in the 6A class once again. Maryville, you got to recoup. And although, again, it's a loss that kind of sucks the wind out of your sails, who knows? The Duneland, no Friday night is promised in terms of if we're going to roll this team or not. The conference is, still up for grabs, of course. It's one you're going to want. But this Maryville team is talented. Crown Point's a buzzsaw, but you got to walk away from this game. You got to flush, and you got to get ready for next week for Portage.
Well, and the one thing that is constant is, Mike Hill. He can make plays for the Maryville team. So that's one of the fun things that's going to be able to watch his development throughout the year as well. And you play that tough schedule. It's only going to help you as you make your way through the 5A ranks.
Yeah, these two teams, I mean, Maryville respectively take on Portage next week at home, hoping to bounce back in that regard, get to a 500 record. In Crown Point, they're hoping to keep things going. We did the math. They haven't lost
30 games in a row.
30 games officially tonight, and they're trying to make it 31 against Lake Central next week. Got to go to the burial grounds, and team coming off a win that who knows, right? Again, it's a Friday night in the Doom, and anything could happen. They want to you can't get complacent if you're Crown Point. And that's one thing that Coach Craig Bouzier and company does super, super well, is that although this team has won X amount of games through these last few seasons in the regular season, they rarely we see for 4 quarters they're going to take the foot off the gas. It's kind of punch in, punch out, get ready for next week, and they're hoping to do that again next week. But for Maryville, a valiant effort, I would say, a much closer score, and it shows kind of this team still very, very talented. Maybe not to Crown Point's 6A level, but they're going to do just fine.
Another team that kept their foot on the gas the entire night was the number 3 Hobart Brickies, who making an argument to move into that number 2 spot in our RSN poll. But the Hobart Brickies get the win 41-7 over the Munster Mustangs. We're still looking for that first win of the year.
Hobart's very enticing. I mean, they're that 4A sectional, especially with teams like Hanover Central, with teams like New Prairie, West Side, kind of a couple teams that we're all kind of familiar with. Now with New Prairie kind of getting a little bit more a change at the helm, that sectional could be open. And Hobart, I bet from what we've seen from this first third of the regular season, this team, I mean, especially they really want to make their names known in the sectionals. It's been kind of some short playoff runs, and they're hoping to change that. And this team, again, led by Alex Tatum, who someone that just everything you kind of want in a quarterback, just a leader, can kind of do it all, and both as a passer and as a rusher. A strong junior class as a whole, especially, a lot of guys that played on that defense last year, and they're only growing. And so far, Hobart has really just kind of ran through teams, and they're on that kind of collision course like Andrean to not only win this conference outright, but to, maybe kind of win some hardware, which is, Hobart's not afraid of, and they're definitely looking for some more room in that trophy case, which is already pretty extensive.
Another special night over in Whiting. So much success for that team over the years, recognizing their 2015 state runner-up team, and a little special recognition for one of their coaches.
Big shout out to Sean Turpin of Whiting for snapping us a photo of what is the new named stadium, the Jeff Kane Stadium, Ray P. Gallivan Field, which the stadium was previously named after. It's now renamed in honor of the Indiana Hall of Fame football head coach, the former Whiting head football coach, Jeff Kane. A little bit about who the stadium is now named after, looking at his Indiana Football Hall of Fame page. He was elected into that fantastic group on May 1st of 2022. He's the winningest coach in Whiting's history. He has 9 conference championships, 4 sectional championships, and 1 state runner-up. I believe that 2015 team was also in attendance. A group of, to see Whiting go down to state, how fantastic that community, we were talking about it earlier in the hour here, Michael, that it's almost kind of second to none in terms of just how, if kind of when they went down to state, and although they came up short, everybody kind of rallied around Whiting. And of course, Jeff Kane, who now the stadium is named after, was the lead guy for that. He also coached 35 all-state players with 7 all-star players during his career in Whiting. Also served as the IFCA class representative from 1996 to his retirement as both a head coach and that representative in 2018. Also was an assistant coach for that North team in 1997 in the all-star game. A big shout-out to Coach Kane, and obviously a rich history at Whiting football, and it cannot be told without the story of Coach Jeff Kane.
And not the best part, because getting a field named after yourself is the best part, but the really fun part for the Whiting Oilers is that they also got the win, 28-7 over the Bishop Noll Warriors. So on a night where you're doing all this honoring of teams and coaches and all that kind of stuff, and recognizing your history to celebrate your present, you get to celebrate the present as well and get the win. So fun stuff over there. Another game you saw right here on the Region Sports Network. Talked about it a little bit already. Lake Central and Portage. Lake Central getting the win 26-0, so they improved to 2-1. They will face Crown Point next week. Always going to be a tough task, but we'll see what Lake Central can bring right in a little bit of momentum.
Gear up and get ready to go. You got nothing to lose, both these squads. Portage, again, going to Maryville. Lake Central taking on Crown Point. You're at home, your 3rd straight home game. Why not shake up the Duneland a little bit, maybe help out those Maryville Pirates?
Yeah, or those Valparaiso Vikings. We'll get there in just a second. The Wheeler Bearcats hosted the River Forest Ingots, and they won 49-0. A little bit to 3-0 in the year.
A little bit of room for movement in the Enningenberg Home Improvement Top 10. Wheeler, actually number 8 in our list, was number 10 the week before. They started the year on our bubble. Looking at how that top 10, the latter half kind of shook up. Wheeler might be moving up again. Again, took it to River Forest. Again, this is a team that scores points a lot, and their defense especially, I believe they've only given up, I think, 7 points all year, if I stand correct. I think they pitched a shutout in game 1 and did much of the same kind of in week 2. A team that's just playing complimentary football. And again, Nick Testa, just a great guy for the job, the back-to-back coach of the year in the GSSC. And he's going for a three-peat, and he wants to win that conference once again.
All right, moving on down the line, the number 10, Morton Governors getting the win, 42. I believe we had 20. That's right?
That's what I got, yes.
Okay, perfect. 'Cause I had 0 originally, so I want to make sure I get that right. 20. So give those Shepherd Astros the 20 points that they deserve. So Morton Governors win 42-20. They improved to 2-1 on the year. Would imagine they're going to have a chance to move up in the poll, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, Shepherd, bringing in a good program. And now Morton's got to gear up and get ready. I think they got to go on the road, taking on Byron Center from Michigan, a team that they lost to last year. Again, mind you, Michael, a very similar schedule. Yes, I think Shepherd's a new out-of-conference opponent, but still a good one. Morton started 0-4 last year. They're 1 point away from a 3-0 record against Chesterton. So they don't want to look at it like that. But this is a team that it seems to be much more suited for a successful campaign and potentially maybe make some noise in that 5A sectional. But Amari Price, a freshman quarterback, following in the shoes of some great Morton quarterbacks, Holland Harris, the U-Indy signee now, and plenty of other great guys over there to kind of fill in that role. But a freshman doing his business, Amir Daniels as well as a name to look out for. He'll probably be playing on Saturdays here shortly as well.
All right, another game you saw or you listened to right here on the Region Sports Network. The Valparaiso Vikings getting in the win column. They get the win at 28-0. Pitched a shutout against the LaPorte Slicers.
Big win for Valpo. A little bit of complimentary football all around. It's good. Defense that was a couple question marks coming into the year, of course, looking at how last year's slate of games went. Pitch a shutout against LaPorte. Offense that relies a lot on Reed Raymond, a good player of theirs who made a lot of great plays, especially against New Prairie. But now 2 straight losses for them after that big win against their rival. They got to gear up quickly because the schedule does not get much easier. But Valpo, again, like you said, hey, they want to vouch for. Hey, they're undefeated in conference. They still got a shot at this thing, and who knows? Again, some momentum finally to get that win. Get it off your chest. And now you get ready for next week, and before you know it, these games will matter just a little bit more. But a good first win for Bill Marshall and the squad.
And finally on our list, you got the Westside Cougars, a 48-0 win over the Hammond Central Wolves. So Westside improves to 2-0. Another team that could have been on that bubble that might, have an argument to be moved into that top 10. We'll have to see what the committee says early next week.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they kind of fare more so in conference play a little bit. I believe they opened up against East Chicago Central last week, and that game went to overtime. So East Chicago kind of took them to the limit. Hammond Central is going through, again, a little bit of a change, a little bit of, just kind of that early process of a new head coach and probably a couple of new players to ask to fulfill certain roles. So things will be tough sledding for their West Side. Again, they're going to be a team that, again, could hang around that bubble, could maybe get in that 10-9 spot. Who knows with how they performance like this tonight. Still got a ways to go, though, I think. And especially interested to see, again, only 2 games under their belt. That first game was postponed. To see how they fare, especially when they kind of enter, the conference play and really start to play some of those tough GSSC teams. That'll really paint the picture of the Westside Cougars.
All right, that is all the final scores for this evening. You can continue to watch see all those final scores. In case you missed one, if you're coming into Region Football Wrap-Up just a little bit late, we do have the Strickland Until Hometown scoreboard update for you. That's going to be rolling continuously all evening long. So if your team won tonight, you can definitely see that score over and over and over and be proud that your team won tonight. And if not, wait till next week.
That's right. That's the beauty of it. We still got a couple more of these, right? 12, potentially 12 more weeks of this. Yeah. Believe it or not, we wrap it up here in week 3, which again is super, super hard to believe. And again, it's the old adage goes, and it's really cherish this because it's it's fun for us, and it's something for us that we have. It flies by super, super quickly. And it's a special time for those seniors out there, and everybody. There's a couple lasts, before and we start to get to where it gets a little bit colder outside, and it's the games matter a little bit more. Before you know it, man, it'll be in November, and hopefully a couple trips down to Circle City for some of these teams.
We're gonna have to do this show from outside and do some chili or something in the future.
We could. It is
get a bonfire going.
Okay,
maybe.
Now we're talking.
All right, we can do that. Or we can just get a little bonfire going on right on the screen right here.
That'll be. I could do that next week.
Okay, all right.
Add it to the list.
That works. All right, do you have some credits you want to roll through?
Yeah, let's do it. So we had 3 games tonight. Got to give we'll start off with our top 10 matchup for everybody at Ames Field. That was Andrew Mild making his return back with us. Steve Pachalski made his season debut as well. The always reliable Zach Sinelli doing a great job at production, and Martin Murillo Jr. making the drive up here, doing a great job as always. For the Portage and Lake Central crew for Kevin Malater, doing a great job on. Yes, got that right? Yes. First try for sure. Doing a great job on play-by-play as always. You heard him a lot, I bet, this week, of course, as well, doing soccer, and you'll hear plenty more of him as well. For the always, again, reliable, of course, Jay Simmons, the vet, so to speak. Clint Klaus doing a great job, again, managing a lot that, some things are in your control, some things are out of your control, and he did a great job of keeping things steady and just making his season debut with us as producer, and the cameraman as well making his season debut. Paul Avila doing a great job upstairs in the cold, of course, as well up there on top of press boxes. It gets a little bit chilly, so big shout out to our cameraman, of course, as well. And finally, our audio game at LaPorte and Valparaiso. For Joe Heinrich making his season debut on production, thank you very much. And for Coach Doug Nelson, our color guy, and Leo Staudiker as well, rounding out the on-air crew. For everybody here at APF as well, Justin Cole back here with RSN Zone and everything, producing with us. Thank you so much. Zach Miller handling all the X's and O's, doing everything, getting us all on the air, and, can't do any of this without him. And then our RSN family, of course, Chris Ramirez, Rich Castillo, Heather Ames, and you, Michael Bradner. Of course.
I show up every once in a while, whenever I'm needed.
You do a great job.
Yeah, I fill in when I can. That'll wrap things up here on, and of course, the sports director. We can't forget. He always keeps it crispy. Can't forget the sports director.
You get people laughing. I don't even know what the joke is.
That's the goal. That's
awesome.
the goal.
Great,
that's the goal. All right.
I lost the room for sure. So we're good.
All right, the respectable Mike Dewan. There
it is.
All right,
That's
thanks for joining us on Region Football Wrap-Up. We'll have plenty more coming through this week, and we'll let you know what games we're going to be covering next week as well. Curious to see how that top 10 shakes out. We'll find out what the committee says. So, again, thanks for joining us here on Region Football Wrap-Up right here on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Old Man Winter is just around the corner, and that means temperatures will soon begin to drop. And a region winter is not the time to be left out in the cold. The professionals at Economy Electric Heating and Cooling can tune up that old furnace or install a new unit that can last for years. Your family deserves to stay comfortable this winter, and with 24/7 emergency service, comfort is just a phone call away. Economy Electric Heating and Cooling, 219-923-4441. Or for more info, the website is forajobdoneright.com.
Earn while you learn from the best hands in the business. The Bricklayers Allied Craft Workers for Indiana, Kentucky Apprenticeship. That's right, this is a paid apprenticeship.
I'm getting an education while learning a trade and getting paid for it.
The thing that surprised me the most about this apprenticeship program is the respect I have received after the proper time and training.
Classes start soon, so apply now. There are training centers throughout Indiana and Kentucky. We are the Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers for Indiana, Kentucky Apprenticeship. The best hands in the business.
Flip the switch, a light turns on. Press the button, machines and instruments come to life. Touch the screen, communicate with the world. Simple tasks, guaranteed results, every second of every day. That's the power of power. And that's the power brought to you by the NECA contractors and electrical workers of Local 531.
Calling all current and future homeowners in the Northwest Indiana area. Whether you're buying or selling, Brent Wright is here to make your real estate journey smooth and successful. With years of experience, personalized service, and a deep knowledge of the market, Brent will help you find the perfect place or get the best deal for your property. Call today at 219-406-7195 and take the first step toward your real estate goals. Contact Brent Wright, the right way to buy and sell real estate.
The Athletic Performance Factory is Northwest Indiana's premier athletic training center. The 40,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility features batting cages, a sand training room, a new outdoor turf infield, and so much more. Check out the facility for one of their daily classes at 3150 45th Street in Highland. Interested in signing up for team workouts or individual lessons? Check out their website at trainapf.com or contact them at 219-750-1087. Athletic Performance Factory, where athletes are made.
Blythe's Team Sports in Valparaiso is a leader in athletics apparel and equipment sales. With in-house production including screen printing, trophies, embroidery, and more, Blythe's can help you to create the perfect look. For more information, visit them online at teamblythes.com. Blythe's Team Sports in Valparaiso, where the athletes shop.